you know, what made me want to reach out to you in the first place, and you're gonna think, because this is probably gonna go into all these questions I have. Don Lidley, I
Oh, you know Don?
dude, I ended up because I worked for my brother for a while, and I did digitize like home videos and stuff. So I went to
Yeah.
Don's house. He shows me all these medals and stuff, and then he is like, "Can you digitize these films?" So I watched all these films of all these runs, marathons, and I
Okay.
don't know. He mentioned you, and from there, it just is like, no way, dude. Dude, 100-mile runs, all those things are like freaking awesome, dude. Like
Yeah, Don's a legend in Fort Wayne as far as ultra running goes. Like every runner knows who that dude is.
yeah, yeah. He's a honestly, he got me like wanting to kick up my game. Like I've been doing like I can do like half marathons. I'm not in a marathon yet, and I've been doing like the Spartans, and I want to do more COVID hits. So
Yeah.
situation, whatever. But you're out there, dude. Who am I to say COVID hit? Like go off on the country, bro, and just go do 100 miles. Dude, you're on one, dude. Like I don't know what even sparked that adventure, dude. What sparked that for you? Like that's my biggest question. Like I had no idea. I remember elementary school you played basketball, and then high school I kind of knew you. It's like I've known you, but we never like really
Sure.
talked. But then seeing what you transformed into, dude, is like seriously something awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you. First of all, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all pretty natural progression, I suppose. When I got out of high school, I moved to North Carolina pretty much within a month or two of graduating, and I was going to school in North Carolina in Wilmington, and um, it's like it's such a basic story. It's a kind of a bummer, but like I couldn't afford a gym membership anymore, and so I started running as just like a way to stay in shape. And yeah, I was just broke and didn't want to pay for a gym. And I would say like the first 6 months of running, I did like the standard 5K, 10K. I did like 4 or 5 half marathons, and I want to say, so what got me into ultra running was I went to go sign up for a marathon in Virginia, and there was like the tab that you clicked to sign up for the race. It had this other link called the unofficial double marathon. So I mean, out of curiosity, I just clicked it because I was wondering what that was, and basically this group of people, it must have been like 15 or 20 of us, met at like 3 a.m. I want to say, and we ran the marathon course before the race started at 7, and then jumped back in line and then ran the marathon. And kind of ignorantly at the time, I thought when I finished that it was like, I don't know. I honestly thought that I had done something that like no one had ever done, and like I was so young to do this. And then sure enough, once I got more involved in the sport, I found out that like what I was doing was nothing, and like there's a lot of people doing this. And then that transpired to me kind of I moved back to Indiana for like 7 months to work at Three Rivers Running Company and kind of like establish this family around me to teach me how to do things, how to train. And then I moved back to North Carolina because for that 7 month period, I was driving to Asheville, North Carolina, which is about a 9-hour drive. I was driving there every single weekend from Fort Wayne to train. And after 7 or 8 months, I kind of got sick and tired of that. So I moved back to North Carolina, and I was only there a short period, like another 4 months. And I had a buddy of mine reach out to me who's become basically one of my best friends. He lives in northern Colorado, and him and I moved out to Steamboat Springs in northern Colorado together to train. And it became this eat, live, sleep, breathe running. And then over time, obviously, that turned into a career.
Dude, oh man, that's so synchronistic. With this one show I'm watching, these two people are training together, and like for you to say that, like you really were just like, you know what, it's coming down to me and my buddy to make this happen, make it work, and like that's like literally a movie story. Honestly, you said it's not really that crazy. Dude, that is crazy, dude. Like, for all that to transpire, how that is, as well as having someone that's on that level with you, you know, because, like, lots of times on the journey, it almost becomes like a path where it's like, only you can go through it, but then you finally got scenario to keep pushing on it. And, like, yeah, for it to be a career as it is, man, like, whew,
Yeah,
that,
and I have to know, I mean, because you kind of touched on something really important there. Is like I've always had someone right there to push me. I mean, I don't live with Devin anymore, and I haven't in a few years. Well, even longer than that. But now my girlfriend and I, who's also a professional runner, she's kind of that person now that pushes me, and it may not always be physically, but it's more I guess emotionally and mentally. And she's always, I mean, she more or less is the person that can now keep me in check.
yeah,
Whereas Devin was someone that we kind of ran together, and that's just evolved over time, and now
yeah.
Sabrina's that person.
Yeah, that's the way I see. There's some relationships I have where it's like that. On one level, it's pushing you that emotionally is a person, and I try to do it with my spiritual practice and stuff. Like, keep just growing within all these different pillars within your temple. That's basically the
Yeah,
way for it, and keeping everything consistent. It's, as I look back now, I'm so thankful for all the things that have transpired. It's almost mind blowing. Some people, they can look back and have regret, but then there's others that can see the fruits of it all. And also to not let any of those weeds of the past trip you up so then you can't have the future, to keep pushing forward. Because I bet there was moments where you were like, what the hell? Like what the hell, like
yeah.
intense.
Yeah, I would say like a really eye-opening event for me was 3 winters ago. That the previous summer, so it was summer of 2018. Sabrina and I were on our way to Kansas to drop off a camper we were using for the summer. We were training out of it and just kind of living remotely in the mountains where we live now. And on the way to drop it off, we got hit by a semi truck, and
Oh my god.
yeah, it was pretty bad. We were actually at a standstill, getting ready to turn left off of a highway, and a semi truck went to pass us as we were also turning left, and it was doing 65 and just nailed us.
Oh my god.
Um, and then just 15, 16 days later, I ran a 200-mile race through the Italian Alps. And I think the combination of the two really did some pretty bad things to my body. It shifted a lot of stuff. Like, it shifted my hips, pelvis, ankle bones, had like 5 displaced vertebrae. And I spent 6 months of that winter, 2018, 2019 winter, like really, really depressed and at a pretty much all-time low, because I was questioning, like, I dropped out of college. I spent the last 6, 7 years of my life devoting to this. And like, I was really wondering, like, is it all over now? Because like, just waking up in the morning to walk was painful. Running was
Oh,
just, it wasn't even an option. And, I obviously I worked through that and I'm through it now, but it took a lot of PT sessions and it took a lot of functional strength training. And, but at the time I really couldn't see through that, because it was a
yeah.
6 month period of just literally nothing, and where I'm used to doing something every single day. So it was like
Hmm.
it was pretty brutal, and that was definitely one of those moments where it was really, or times it was really good to have Sabrina there, because just like the emotional breakdowns were pretty hard to explain. I just
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, dude. That's makes you question everything. I mean, even I only had to be off my feet for 4 months. I had to get foot surgery because when I was 21, I was really drunk and I left this place and fell in a pothole,
Oh
and
shit.
and I didn't get it fixed. I decided to not do anything about it for years, and so it got to the point where it was just hurting, and I was like, dang. So I had to get that taken care of, but like, I didn't work out or anything till I hit 21, when like my blood pressure was through the roof. I looked like a red apple tomato, 235 pounds, and like I'm blood pressure medicine. Like, that was
Wow.
a huge, like almost like a whole lifetime of low. It's like, dude, I'm 21 and now I have to take pills or something. So it's like, let's get to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so when I couldn't do that after a couple of years of working out, dude, just a couple months, and I wasn't even making money off of it. I was the emotional, internal anger because you use. I mean, for myself, that was my issue. It was like a way to express that out, exercise that out, as well as dude, those endorphins after a run, especially.
Yeah.
Dude, you
Yeah.
feel like you're grounded and you're yourself to the max. You know, like there's no BS. You're like, yeah, dude, like I'm feeling like you're feeling yourself, but it's like an authentic, like I just popped off on that. Like, let's good. Like, let's get the next thing done, dude.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, you do look really, really good, man. So I just want to applaud, yeah, the hard work. Like, you know, that's it's
Thanks.
I can imagine it's not easy. You know, it's gotta always be easier starting from here and going to here, but to start from down here and then
Yeah.
here is a different story, you know. I mean, yeah, that's like you weren't working with a base, you know. I mean, the
Yeah.
base I was working with was while I wasn't a runner, I did play basketball and I stayed active. And but to come from, you know, where like you said, where you know, you've hit rock bottom and you have and you're taking pills and everything else, like that's crazy, man. So
It's
huge
thank you,
congrats.
dude. Thank you. And you know, that's the ways of transformation, you know, through these different phases. It's like it's a constant butterfly effect. You know, there's that metamorphosis continually within life. And like, you know, it's never to stand somewhere at the top of a cliff and be like, this is it. Like I guarantee you have so many more objectives and things you want to accomplish, like getting to this high altitude or doing this certain thing, as well as just, you know, keeping that consistency. Like at the end of the day, that's what I would tell anyone is if you really want something, stay consistent, but make
Yeah.
sure like you'll choose to do that. And like, do you have to stretch like a certain way before anything or after? Like, do you have something in your regimen, or are you just like, my body's used to this, let's get it done? Like,
I mean, that's a great question, man. I mean, previous to the accident that I was telling you about, not so much. I stretched a little bit, like very little. I would say actually at the time what I did more rolling out, like just rolling my muscles. So just like self massage. But
yeah.
since the accident, I've done a lot of I mean, I don't know if I can like classify it as yoga now. I was doing a lot of yoga the first year, maybe even the first year and a half, and then I just kind of took what I got within taking, or I was basically just doing these like online yoga classes essentially, and I just took what I learned in that, and then now I just every day I do about 30 to 60 minutes of stretching in the morning,
Wow.
and it's just I know what I need or what I want from a stretching standpoint. So
Yeah.
now I don't do the extra stuff that's like, well, I don't really need to do that today, but yeah, I'd say 30, 60 minutes is pretty standard daily. And then in addition to that, I do an extra 30 to 60 minutes of like body weight functional strength training. Usually
Wow.
pretty like gluten core specific work. But
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty important in my opinion.
Yeah, that's I'm like, yeah, I can lift some weight. Like I can't do the heaviest thing. I mean, I think my arms can't stuff, but like my abs is where it's like, bro, like I got so much work to do on that. It's huge. And I mean, that's the last part of my journey. Now, my calves, on the other hand, since I was in marching band and went dude in middle school, I used to walk on my tiptoes. I don't know why, but I did it for like 2 years, dude. So like my calves have just been expanding, bro. I'm like, as big as my thigh. I'm like, dude, holy smokes, man. Which is why I think I can also push when I run. But yeah, man, that's with I need to be stretching more. No, just by you saying 30 minutes, like I'm like I do 5 minutes a day. That's pretty good. It's pretty trash to be,
You know, for
you
me, it
know.
feels good. It really does feel good. Like I can actually, most importantly, afterwards, I can feel the difference from it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the core strength, like so I also coach, both my girlfriend and I coach a couple handful of athletes. And
Oh wow.
you know, I always tell them it's core work is there's like doing it is not fun. It's tedious, time consuming, and it's not sexy, but it is the most important possible thing you can do. I mean, especially as a runner or for like more in our scenario the athletes we coach, they're trail runners or mountain runners, and that core strength is just it's actually what's going to allow you to avoid any other injuries, because it's the strength that's essentially keeping you upright. Yeah, and I was
Wow. The posture. You're talking, all through the posture. And I know, like, with running, I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but it's balls on my feet. I'm tiptoeing running, And
that's good. That's actually really good.
And I use Vigrams, with the toe shoes.
I am. Yeah, I'm familiar. Be careful. Those
Really?
Yeah, I tell all my athletes, those shoes are those are tools. That's a quiver. That's a quiver shoe. That's not a shoe designed for you to run in solely.
Oh, wow.
They faced a lawsuit, like, must have been 5 or 6 years ago, because they were claiming that they basically, like, solved back problems, so on and so forth. And really people were reading this book called Born to Run and then going out and buying those Vibram Five Finger shoes, and they were running way too much in them. The problem is, so scientifically, like, the design is great. So what the design does for you is it levels your foot out at what's called a 0 millimeter drop. So that's just the heel to toe pitch. Like
Okay.
most shoes, or at least traditional shoes, road running shoes, we'll use Asics as an example. They're usually about a 12 millimeter drop, meaning your heel is 12 millimeters higher than your forefoot. What Vibram has done correct is they've given you a shoe that brings that heel down. So now you're in the most natural stance. But the problem with the Vibrams is you got this much cushion underneath your foot, and it's just not feasible for most, we'll just say it, Americans, to be running in a shoe that's that small. So what you really want to be looking for in a running shoe is a low drop, but with a normal amount of cushion, something that's still supportive, but it's putting you in a stance that doesn't rotate your hips. And that's what we found through time is the problem with these shoes like Asics that have this big heel to toe pitch is it rotates your hips. And once you rotate your hips, you're throwing your knees out of alignment, your fibia, everything is now out of alignment because of this rotation.
Wow. Because, well, here's one thing. I'm very adamant at. I mean, I'm that guy. If I'm in a neighborhood, wherever I'm at, I'm always in the grass. I don't care. Like, my
That's
main
great for your
concern,
body.
that's why I like trails, and like I like making up my own trails, and I just got one of these smartwatches so like I can actually keep track of it instead of trying to map it out. Like, I might have did this, but just doing that in the grass, I feel like I can keep going because there's that goodness. That's why the Vigrams, I feel good with them, but when I do on like concrete, after about 6 miles, I'm like, God dang, like I almost have to change how I'm running, and I know that that's incorrect. But it's like with the other shoes, it would kind of hurt my knees, but it's probably because I was wearing a size 12 and I was 11 and I was an idiot running on a dirt road for like 6 miles, but it messed up my knees.
You're doing it right. You really are. I mean, the soft surface is so important. Natural surface, because pavement is so far from natural and so terrible on your body. And then, the other shoes, there's an extremely good chance they were a high drop shoe, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And what a high drop shoe basically, what it allows you to do, the shoe basically is designed to be doing is heel striking. And that heel striking is is hurting your knees. Whereas when you're wearing those Vibrams, you're consciously forefoot striking,
Yeah.
which is much better on your body. And in addition to it, getting out on the grass or on dirt is any type of soft surface is so smart for you. I mean, I couldn't preach that enough. And I know, being in Fort Wayne, that like everybody's a road runner, and I'm sure even people probably think you're crazy for running in the grass.
For sure, dude. I make sure to flawless so they know I'm weird, dude.
But it's like it's the smart. Like I used to do the same, that short stint when I was living in Fort Wayne. I always ran on the grass. Like I'd be running down Covington and literally be in the grass, dude.
Well, that's awesome to hear that from you, because I get it, and I definitely have felt the difference between, like, there was a half marathon run for Fitness or whatever, and that was one of the greatest runs in the world, and I never saw Rocky before, and I watched that movie with Chad, and the next day I was like, dang, I wish we had bananas for that potassium, And so we're on the run, and then like he's starting to get tired, and I'm like kind of like going down. All of a sudden, we enter an edition. The whole edition's playing the Rocky theme song, and they're giving bananas, bro. I lost it, dude. I was like, yes. And then rum shots, and I was like, dude, this is cake, bro. This is cake. But it's just like what it's done for myself, and I know it's probably done so much for you and all the people you've been able to meet. Like really, like Dom was incredible. Like when he showed me his medals and he told me all the runs he's doing. What's your longest run? Do you know that your longest run you've done? And
like race, longest race.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. So 217 miles. I did well, it was a quote unquote 200 miler. It was this big loop in the Colorado Rockies. And it was, yeah, that was a really awesome event. And then, like I said earlier, the second shortest was like 210 through the Italian Alps. But
do you sleep?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because those two, while those races were almost the same distance, they were two very different time frames. The one in Colorado took 65 hours, and the one in Italy took 85 hours. And yeah, you do sleep. There's definitely things that I would adjust now that I've done it twice, but the general theory behind at least front runners is to take about a 20-minute nap every 12-ish hours, because it doesn't allow you to go into a deep sleep. You only go into a quick REM cycle. The problem is when you go into a deep sleep, it becomes more difficult to basically reawaken the body and get moving again. And all of the recovery properties that come with sleeping happen during REM, not during deep sleep. And you can hit REM nearly instantly when you've been up for 50 straight hours or whatever. But during the Italy one, I definitely made some of my own mistakes and kind of succumbed to my own weaknesses. And I just wasn't having the race I had intended on or planned on having. And I waited a little too long to sleep. I waited until it must have been about the 40-hour marker. So I ran through the first 40 hours, which must have been, at that race, that was probably like the first 90 miles or so. And I decided to sleep for like an hour and 15 or an hour and a half. And that really, really, it paid its price. It was just too long.
Yeah.
And then that kind of extended through the next 100 miles. I was just like finding myself needing more sleep, or maybe perhaps wanting more sleep. And I think part of that was just, like I said, I was not having the race that I thought I was going to have. And that's like kind of one of those mental things where, if you're out running for, in that case, that was 3.5 days of running straight. It just, mentally, when things aren't going your way, it can be really difficult to overcome that. And I think it kind of takes time of just like of callus building in your mind to be able to deal with that sort of pain, that sort of sleep deprivation. And you have to be able, and it's not all about like, I'm not trying to say you have to be a super tough person, but what I'm saying is you have to be a positive person. So when it is painful, you have to be able to see around you. And in my case, that was like, holy shit, we're in the fucking Italian Alps. Like, I was living in Fort Wayne, Indiana 8 years ago, and now I'm running through the Italian Alps. Like, and that was something that kept me going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's incredible. And, sometimes you get really tired, like at that, I bet there's so many mental points where you can hit, where you have to have that like inner fire that never goes out. And at the end of the day, because it's that gratitude you have for what you have, and it keeps you pushing forward, as well as, I have things of my past. It's like, oh, well, I didn't do that right, but now I'll always keep this momentum forward. I'm going to try to do this and keep that going. And like, I can only imagine, like I've done, yeah, well, he's over here, like the 200 miles. I was doing this 8 miles one time, but I was really tired. And
it's all relative, by the way. It's all relative. It's all like, we all suffer. That's kind of the entire point is the suffering.
Exactly. And pushing through it, even when it hits to that harsh, face to face with this sucks. holy smoke, but you know what? It's super great because, and
Yeah, yeah.
man, dude, that's incredible. Now I saw you snowboarding too. Like, is there other things besides the running, or is it just those are other perks when you go to different places doing your run? You're like, I'm gonna go check this out. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, snowboarding for me, has really developed quite a bit in the last couple of years. I started snowboarding 6 years ago, and that was all resort riding in northern Colorado on relatively mellow terrain. And then when my girlfriend and I moved down to the southern mountains, we live in a mountain range called the San Juans. So like most of what anyone probably sees me put up is directly from like literally outside of my door.
Wow.
We live in this really amazing place. It's called Silverton, Colorado. It's just a town of 600 people, and so the San Juan Mountain Range itself is, as far as square mileage goes, is really not all that big. However, our mountains are extremely stacked on each other. So we have 354 13,000-foot mountains within just a very short radius around us. And when we moved here, that really developed my snowboarding. As there are resorts, however, most of the people here do backcountry riding. So you're basically, you're climbing to the top of a mountain and then skiing or snowboarding down.
And right, that's awesome.
And it's just become a really good cross training tool for me. It's easy on the body. It's a really, not to get like overly scientific, but it's like a low aerobic workout, meaning my heart rate always remains relatively low. So it serves as a recovery effort, and actually helps with recovery.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it's just, it's become definitely another pretty, I'm definitely very passionate about it. It's definitely second to running. The town we live in, it's a mountain pass both ways out, and we're kind of socked into the mountains, and there's only two roads you can run. So they get kind of old. So if you're looking to get any type of like vertical gain or climbing in, the trails have 3, 4, 5 feet of snow on them. So the only way to do that sort of thing is you have to be a backcountry skier or snowboarder. So
Oh, so
it's
you
become,
really have to, yeah, kind of get a little creative out there. Like,
exactly. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you got to adapt to the environment itself, because it's not. You can run here year round, and we do run here year round. But if you're looking to diversify the training because
yeah.
you're so limited this time of the year, you basically have to become a backcountry skier. And yeah, it's definitely it's something that I like really really enjoy. It's so quiet. I mean, you can go basically as soon as you leave town, you just don't see anyone for hours and hours until you get back to town. And it's just it's hard to explain. It's a really incredible
I mean,
experience.
dude, you adapt to your circumstance, plus like I just don't like going to go lift all the time, I like to go do my own thing, like go have a mega day where you do this, that, and the other, go outside for a run. Like even when it's snowy, it's sometimes kind of nice. I put on shoes. I try not to, but I guess I need to just be more like, just stay in the grass. At the end of the day, as long as I'm chilling in the grass, dude. And I have known, I don't know how it is for you, but I've eaten edibles and I've eaten other psychedelic types of substances before and ran. And I mean, if you have any like suggestions, do you think that that's positive, not positive? Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean,
Okay.
I specifically only do THC, and I'll take edibles before runs. Take edibles before majority of my runs. I mean, the experience itself, as like I'm sure a lot of people have heard, is obviously incredible. It like heightens the experience itself. But I think to really look at it from like a physical standpoint, for me, what it does, and I think perhaps even for a lot of people, is it presents this acute awareness for what's on within my body. And like if I'm feeling like, oh, my knee is hurting today, like that tenderness, that whatever hurts becomes super acute, and it allows me to really be more conscious of like, whoa, probably should let off the gas today, or like, oh, maybe I shouldn't scramble up the side of the mountain today. I should really just like take it easy. And I think that's what it does for me that's so great. That's obviously that is in addition to just
Everything else, yeah.
yeah, being high, like running high is really like a really amazing experience every single time.
No, I couldn't agree more. I love doing it, sober, getting dopamine, but if you do it high, it's another experience. And like I said, I tried the other things just a couple times just to see, and like it was incredible. I mean, everything became, liquid for a moment, but I felt like I was just in the flow of it. And like that's also the cool thing about running. It becomes a flow state. And like you were saying about becoming more conscious about how your body feels, that's something I definitely couldn't agree more with. It always, anytime I do, especially eating it, I can feel my body way more. And it's also, you're probably not eating a ton because if you ate too much, you'd be spinning around in circles. I've had that happen.
Well, I guess that's all relative too. I would imagine. I actually, I do, I do prefer to take quite a bit. It's, and and I know my environment, like I know where I am here. And that's something, when someone who's new to cannabis use or new to edibles, I always tell them, first of all, start small. And only incrementally go up. And then also it's super important to know where you're going and know that run really well, because then you won't run into problems like possibly getting lost. I mean, like the environment I live in, or perhaps other people in Colorado, they can be presented with an opportunity to get lost, but I've ran these mountains over and over and over again. So it's
the land.
It's predictable. It's super predictable. So it's something I can do without having the anxiety of something bad happening. So I always tell people, do a run that you've done 100 times. Something that you know how it's going to go.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, exactly. And I'll always do things, in a right state of intent. Like, don't be an idiot about things, because I've done some dumb things before, dude. And I'm like, what am I doing right now? Is this? What is your? Did you ever like get into like timing your fastest mile, or like wanting to beat a certain time, or have you always been the distance? Like you can go the distance.
I think that's something that's just that kind of comes and goes with training. I mean, I really do enjoy shorter stuff. In college, I was obviously really only doing shorter stuff. So I did time myself in the mile. I did time myself 5K, 10K. But it has been, I mean, it hasn't been since college that has been like a priority or focus of mine. I will within a training block, sometimes I will just go out and like, all right, I'm just going to see how fast I can run 3 miles a day or 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is. But that's anymore, that's not really the primary focus. But running those distances fast is a great training tool for like what I'm looking for in the end result.
Yeah. And like, is your last few miles when you're running, do you kick up your pace? Definitely, like on those big mega ultra marathons. Like, is that like, all right, now we can start flooring it?
That's an easier said than done thing. And I've over time gotten a lot better at that. Like my most recent endeavor, I did it was about a 70-mile trail in Southern California. Just like a point-to-point trail across the Santa Monica Mountains. And in that case, I reserved, it was a really well put together run. And my fastest miles were all at the end. The last 4 miles, I was mainly around 6-minute pace. And the last mile was mile 68 was 5:25.
Wow. 5:25 on your 70, dude. That is incredible, man. I'm trying to push 6:40. I'm on 6:45 now. I want 5:55 by the end of the year, but I should make it sooner, dude.
That's rad. Yeah, but that took time. Like, I have had a lot of really bad finishes. That is as the distance gets further, it becomes, and I shouldn't even say that. I would say just like really pertaining to like 100-mile distance, it's really hard to like perfect that and run the last 10 miles hard. Can't tell you how many times I've hit mile 70 and I've just
Yeah.
thrashed from 70 to 90 super hard, thinking that like I'm going to close this race, the final 30 miles really hard. And then I end up closing really more like the last 20 to 25, and just the last 5 are just suffer fest or end up injured. Like, it's a difficult thing to dial in. And I'll be honest, I've only really closed races or runs like that, I think I've done about 40 or 45 ultras now. And honestly, maybe only 15 of them or less I've closed and really been proud of how I closed that race.
Wow. But exactly. You're perfecting your art each time you're doing it and learning that, dialing it in at that exact, I can use this much energy, and, just you really understand yourself more as time goes on how hard you can go.
Yeah, and it's also the field, the competition of the field
Oh, you're
plays
right. Yeah.
plays a major role, in that sometimes there's just a level of like excitement and hype. And if you're like locked into a pack of like 5 or 6 guys running really fast, when like, oh shit, I still have 70 miles, I probably shouldn't be running this fast, but you do it anyway because there's just like that excitement and energy.
Yeah.
So obviously, just like depending on who you're competing against can also affect how that goes.
Wow. Yeah, no, definitely, dude. That's crazy. I didn't even realize you did. I've been have you done a Spartan and all those before?
No, man, I just went and hung out at one once.
Well, wait, I'll tell you my experience. It was me and Chad decided to party it up before it to celebrate
Oh,
do it. So we got like 2 hours of sleep, and then we tried eating some things to help us out. And man, he was done. I was fine though. But he was. It was a crawl to get at the end there, man. It was good, but man, do you have any big things coming up that you're going for this year?
a lot of the stuff from when I say we, my girlfriend and I had planned for 2020 basically rolled over to 2021. And I'm not super optimistic on the plans I currently have working out, because a lot of that is international.
Mm,
So just as a little bit of background, ultra running is a far bigger sport out of the States. It's really, 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 really big in Europe. It's to like really to show the level it's at. I mean, it is like the NBA there.
wow.
So to go race and to race at a really high competitive level, it really, unfortunately, it requires you to race in Europe. And we have a couple kind of competitive races here in the US, but we just don't have the field size. A big race in the US is like 400 people. A big race in Europe is 3,500 with helicopters, camera crews, live broadcasting. It's a whole different world. So, as of right now, we're supposed to be I'm supposed to race in Italy at the end of June in the Dolomites. And then Chamonix, France, which is a 100K I'm supposed to run in the end of August. And then the big one is there's a new inaugural race in Bhutan called the Snowman. It follows this 200-mile route that goes by Everest, and it's a sacred route that you have to be approved to do by the king of Bhutan, and we would be the first humans to ever run across it. So the king of Bhutan has put together 25 runners to go run across the Himalayas of Bhutan, and that would be in October. But with COVID, all this stuff has to I'm assuming that in the best case scenario, we get vaccinated, and the race organizations get approved by local government to be permitted to put on their race, so long as the runner has been vaccinated. That would be my guess is how this all plays out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And, at least you can see that hope towards that, because with all this stuff, there's things there. Everyone thinks that, there's bleak, but I always see that shine throughout everything. Like, as long as you stay on it, stay consistent, and go forth, you're not going to be stopped. Only you can stop you.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
fact, dude. That's a fact. And I got one more question, and then that's it, dude. I appreciate you coming on here and talking,
For
dude.
sure,
Like,
man.
this incredible, and like it gets me fired up. I don't know. Now, if I was a millionaire and I guess I could devote more time, that's an excuse though. But then again, I don't know. That's my excuse. But
I mean, we all have different goals and are all doing very different things. I always tell people like I don't expect anyone else to be a runner. I don't like it's just we all have very individualized goals and what we're looking to get out of
in
life.
life,
And
yeah, oh for sure, dude. Like that's I love doing my spiritual stuff and doing my music and then doing podcasts and like getting everyone's hearing about growth and the people's stories because it becomes like a part, like a download. Like it's just like reading a book. It becomes these lessons you're able to learn and then be able to be like, wow, that is really cool and like dial things in more. And
yeah.
man, and so what's your favorite place? I want to know your favorite place you've ever been because of this path.
Um. Oh, you know, uh, yeah, we always talk about like my girlfriend and I have been together now for 5 years, and it feels like we've been together for a couple decades because um, there's not really a month that's went by that we haven't traveled at least once a month for 5 years. It's insane. But I would probably say Reunion Island. It's a little island about 300 miles off the coast of Madagascar, and Madagascar is off the coast of South Africa. So way deep into the Indian Ocean is this little island, and what's so incredible about it is um, as far as the island is, the makeup of the island is unlike anywhere in the world because it's only about 15 miles wide and maybe 40 miles long or so, and the high point on the island is 10,300 feet, and basically, which is insane. Like for you can go sea level to 10,300 feet in like 10 miles, which is like really truly unheard of.
That doesn't
But
even make any sense almost.
yeah, and the terrain is absolutely incredible. So, you start at the beach, and then as you run up, you get up to all these sugarcane fields. That's their main export, and how the island makes a lot of money is sugarcane. And as you get out of the sugarcane fields, you keep climbing up, and you end up in jungle. And then as you climb up and out of the jungle, it literally turns into the Alps. Like it turns into these aggressive peaks, and it's just like there's nowhere in the world that you can get that. You got the jungle kind of feeling of Hawaii, but you also have the European Alps. It's just like absolutely insane.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look into that place. That sounds like a portal, dude. That just sounds like
Island, yes, it's incredible. It's so hard to get. It's unfortunately, especially for where we live, we had kind of calculated it. We might be as far away as where we are in Colorado to Reunion as like anywhere in the world. It took us 68 hours of nonstop travel to get there, and then on 68 to get back.
wow, dude, that's crazy. I've only 18 hours is the most I've ever traveled on anything.
That's plenty though.
68, bro. Oh my gosh. Hang on, guys. I'm just gonna take a 3-hour, 3-day nap. Okay. Hey, where can people find to follow you? And if you have any sponsors or anything you want to shout out, the floor is yours, bro.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Super simple, just Avery Collins on Facebook, in which I've been really limiting how much I get on that. Like, really, I've just been limiting my social media use, and I would say most of it's on Instagram, and it's running high on Instagram. And then, yeah, I mean, just a big thank you to and anyone who's interested in it. I run for a company called Athletic Brewing. It's a non-alcoholic beer company. If someone that listens to this, including yourself, Leighton, I'll actually just give it to you when we're done. But I have a 50% code I can give to anyone that's interested. It's just an incredible craft beer they're kind of filling a niche role in the beer market because they make like a whole slew of different craft beers that are non-alcoholic,
Wow.
and then medically correct and quick effects edibles. and Your Energy gels. But yeah, if you or anyone's interested, just feel free to reach out. But I will definitely get you a code for the non-alcoholic beer if that's something you want to try.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you would just send me those links to those things, and I'll put
Yeah,
them in the bio of the video, man. I appreciate
perfect.
your time coming on here, dude, and like blessings for the new year. And I hope just I'm just gonna keep seeing you grow, man. And I'd have
Thanks,
you hop
buddy.
on here later on. I mean, I'd love
Oh,
to hear
you
more,
know
dude.
what? Absolutely, man. I really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you reaching out. So, yeah, man. If come summertime, if you want to link up again, I actually really would like that.
I'd appreciate it. Awesome.
Being a Spartan, I'm pushing to my limit, breaking all my goals and I'm already up in it.